Story 1, Dopey Dad. It was a subversion of the father knows best trope of the 1950s and 1960s, but it has become so prevalent that it lost its original meaning and has become an insulting default for father characters in media. The foolish dad has done something silly again, and it is up to the smart, wisecracking mom and the children to fix it. It is to the point where we wonder how such incompetent individuals hold a job, much less own a large television house and support a large television family. It is just as insulting to men as Father Knows Best was to women, and that being the point of it has long since worn out. It no longer has the impact of a trope subversion. It has become expected. Father character? Bumbler. It is not universal, but it is extremely widespread. Story 2. I do not know if it is a stereotype, but I have received concerned looks at the playground when I am with my children and holding their hands. Story 3. The idea that men want to have sex with everything that moves is incorrect. There is a big difference between thinking a girl is pretty, most girls are at least cute, and wanting to have sex with her. Story 4. I'm sure it will be mentioned 1,000 times, but it is that men do not cry. I cry like a 14-year-old girl who just got dumped in most movies, and I get all misty-eyed when babies are near me. Story 5. We are not supposed to ask for directions. Whoever made me forgot to include a global positioning system. I am constantly lost and do not know where I am going. I have to use the global positioning system even in the town I grew up in. Story 6. I generally do not care much about this. However, I find some stereotypes about men and women relating to dating and sex are somewhat backwards, which annoys me slightly. For instance, I believe our cultural push towards normalizing casual sex over the last few generations has been driven more by women than by men, but somehow there is an idea that men just want sex and women want relationships. Story 7. That men are always the violent ones, the aggressors, the sexual predators, and so on. I listen to a lot of Reddit podcasts, and I hear about men doing things and being called creepy, but when women do the same behavior, it is just considered cute mom behavior. Story 8. Aggressiveness. If you do not lose control, break things, and start fights every now and then, you are not man enough. Story 9. Grind set mentality. Some of us are okay just doing the bare minimum and relaxing. I am here to enjoy life, not race to the finish. Just look at Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. They are the richest people on the planet, and they are constantly spending their money to ease their insecurity. If nothing is ever enough, then you will always feel insecure, whether you make $20,000 or $20 billion a year. Story 10. Having to be aggressive to appear strong. I do not let people take advantage of me, and I am capable of defending myself if anyone gets in my face. However, I am not seen as manly because my personality is very relaxed, calm, and non-confrontational. Story 11. It bothers me when people think I need to help with moving their heavy items because I am a man. It does not matter if I can bench press 250 pounds. My strength is not to help you move your washer and dryer. Pay someone for that. Story 12. That this alpha male idea is something we agree with. All of the better men I ever knew did not brag about it, they just did it. The modern influencers are just examples of the modern small confidence syndrome. Story 13. That I am supposed to have better qualities than my girlfriend, no matter what. Maybe I should not have to be the better person all the time. Story 14. Could not be less bothered. The earlier in life you reduce your concern for what other people think of you, the happier you will be. Story 15. That kind of macho stoicism and refusal to be vulnerable or display emotion is expected. Conversely, that kind of macho stoicism is bad. Male and female stereotypes are so dumb. My girlfriend is much better at displaying masculine stereotypes than I am. I think a lot of people probably relate to this. Story 16. Men not asking for help. It is a tale as old as time with the whole "why do you not stop and ask for directions" trope. Story 17. Men are inherently violent. Just because we can does not mean we do. Men lack emotional intelligence and awareness. Story 18. A misogynist is someone who looks down on women or hates women. I honestly do not know many men in my life who feel this way about women, and the ones who seem to do so are the ones I tend to avoid. I am saying this as a man from Britain. I am fully aware that some other countries and cultures are still very unfair to women. I cannot speak about them, but I do not know many actual men here who are misogynists. Story 19. We are supposed to be good at do-it-yourself house projects, handiwork, and fixing cars. I dislike how masculinity is tied to having certain skills. Imagine if having a college education and a master's degree were the determining factors for being a real man. There would be many more insecure men. Story 20. A newer one, but there has been so much backlash against the negative men are stoic stereotype that it is becoming an equally negative stereotype that men are all repressing their feelings and really need someone to vent to but have nobody they can trust. If something is bothering me, I would rather go on a run than pick at the scab by venting to someone. Story 21. 1. That men are poor lovers and too selfish to invest in foreplay or romance. Meanwhile, at least 80% of all romance and foreplay, along with the labors of courting and seduction in the world, are performed by men for the benefit of women. It is not particularly rare for a woman to never figure out her sexuality or how to orgasm on her own and to have been taught by a male partner. It requires a lot of skill, talent, focus, and selflessness to study another person, intuit what they are physically feeling based on their reactions, and then predict what that person requires to reach orgasm when they do not even know themselves. This can be a gratifying thing to do, but I do not judge any men who do not think so. The problem is that this is treated as the threshold for demonstrating competence and fairness when it actually demonstrates expertise and selflessness. Finally, men are such experts of their own sexuality and orgasms that they make it look easy, and it is dismissed as simple when in truth they just put in the practice, understand and embrace their needs, and then do the work to see them met. Men are unskilled at communicating. Story 22. The only emotion men are allowed to express is anger. As a man who was never allowed to express anger, this one did not and still does not make sense to me. Story 23. The standard for parenting is so low that just spending time with my children makes me a great father. Story 24. Currently having a days-long conversation with a woman who believes men should be willing to die for women they do not know, simply because they are women. There is no consideration for who started the confrontation. So yes, definitely that. Story 25. Loving and caring about fantasy sports. I could not care less who you have drafted to wear your team's uniform, so stop assuming I care because I have a Y chromosome and identify as a man. Okay. Story 26. That crying is a sign of weakness. Half the time I am tearing up, it is because I am caught up in passion about a topic that I want to improve in the world. Especially in large groups of men, it has been seen as, wow, that person is serious about this thing. Story 27. That act was not masculine. When it involves two or more men, it does not get more masculine than that. Story 28. Sports. Watching sports on television is different from attending a game in person. I cannot stand watching sports on television. Story 29. There is a strange stereotype that men do not or should not read fiction. It is only considered acceptable if it is unusual self-help books related to sociopathy, such as How to Control the People Around You or 100 Rules of Successful Manipulators, or works like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Men think you are strange for reading fiction, and women believe you do not exist and that they are the only ones who read fiction. Fantasy and science fiction are somewhat acceptable, but only if they are dark and violent and have a movie adaptation. Story 30. That I watch or care about sports or that I drive a truck that is lifted because I am into hunting. No, I drive a truck because I can go wherever I want into the woods and camp in peace and quiet. Story 31. When a woman is given a task she cannot or does not want to do, I am expected to help her or do it for her. Can one of you strong men get this for me? No, do it yourself. You have to earn that extra 25 cents an hour. Come on, girl power. Story 32. If you do not, if you cannot, if you do, you are a person who lives deliberately as you would want. Morality is the only thing worth maintaining, regardless of what you do otherwise, as long as you are not taking advantage of people. Just live, know yourself, and indulge in the variations of life and experience. Story 33. There are many, but the first that comes to mind is that men should not carry their belongings, such as wallet and keys, in a bag. I hate sitting on my wallet, so I have a shoulder bag where I keep my keys, hand sanitizer, some change, and my sunglasses. It is much better than carrying everything in my hands or pockets. But it is a purse. And who cares? Also, the idea that real men cannot show emotions or be emotionally vulnerable with others is incorrect. Story 34. I guess men crying? I only saw my boyfriend cry once, and it was at the end of the Batman Dark Knight trilogy when Alfred cheers to Bruce Wayne. I know, maybe I'm toxic, but I teased him a little about that since we have been to funerals for his relatives without any tears. Story 35. Being okay with physical violence. I admit self-defense is important. However, going 3 to 4 rounds in a street fight could get you killed. Your presence is required. Story 36. If you are not an overly confident athletic gym enthusiast, people may assume you are gay. I am athletic but calm. I do not speak foolishly and have a softer, less aggressive voice and mannerisms. Many people have assumed I was gay. It is really annoying, but I am used to it by now. Story 37. That men do not have emotions other than anger, hunger, or desire. I have more emotions than that. I have been to hell because of it. It is a severe case of discomfort trying to talk to people I once knew because of this close-minded thinking. No wonder I outgrew them. Story 38. I love my kitten. Cuddle with her every night. Also, I have never so much as raised my voice at my girlfriend. Story 39. I am a reseller, so I go to many garage sales. I mostly look for items that can be resold quickly online for a fast profit, such as cameras and gaming equipment. 75% of the time when I arrive, people automatically tell me where their tools are. My wife knows how to use tools better than I do. Granted, I am a bearded, very strong 6'2", 250-pound man, so I look the part, but it makes me feel uncomfortable that I do not know much about tools or their purposes. I have just never ventured into that area. Story 40. Woman here, but I get really annoyed when I hear other people, men and women, say that men should not show their feelings or that a drink is too girly. My husband laughs it off because he is perfectly content in his masculinity and has no problem with it, but that kind of attitude still bothers me. To be fair, stereotypes in general do bother me. Story 41. I have no use for sports, especially wasting an entire day watching a game. I would rather work in my yard than watch a bunch of overpaid players compete. Story 42. I was going to say stoicism as an expectation rather than a valid philosophical position. I am not less masculine because I am not stoic, and another man is not more masculine because he is. Story 43. That we find purpose and happiness by providing for others. Maybe some men do, but I certainly do not. Story 44. That we are all the same. Men do not feel feelings. Men are good with cars, etc. We are all different and are the products of our contexts. We are not a monolith. The identity allowed for what is masculine is oppressively narrow. Story 45. That men cannot be assaulted or harassed by women, or that if they are, they always did something to deserve it, is incorrect. As someone who has been on the receiving end of that, it makes me see red. Story 46. That men are slobs who cannot clean a house and cannot cook a decent meal. I vacuum, dust, and mop my house weekly. I can also cook you a great meal from the 68 cookbooks I own. Story 47. All men should know about tools. I do not own any, and I do not care. Anyone who criticizes or judges me for that is a tool. Tool is a good band, too. Story 48. Female here. That men are not allowed to be interested in stereotypical feminine things, and if they are not real men. Story 49. I honestly just hate binary gender. My dad passed when I was 10, and I didn't have male role models. I had to rely on the women in my life and myself. So anytime someone tells me to be a man or mentions how men are one way and women are this other way, it makes me feel terrible. Any of that patriarchal nonsense just leaves me scratching my head because I felt like I grew up outside of it. Honestly, my dad was an acrobat and a psychologist, a unique combination, so even if he were still alive, I think I'd feel the same. He was an effeminate man. I don't like how society sees young emotional men and then flips them on their head and tells them to be quiet and man up. Men and women are capable of so much more if we just stopped defining things in such a rigid, outdated way. Story 50. The most amusing idea is that height equals the ability to fight. Even among the most trained and skilled fighters on Earth, such as the Ultimate Fighting Championship roster, the least skilled are often the taller fighters. Just hearing height mentioned is a good way to tell if somebody has either never been in a fight or does not know how to fight. Story 51. In order to be a man, I must know how to physically perform an oil change, a tire change, and operate a manual transmission. Please be respectful. My physical disability does not mean that I am no longer a man. For those who say things like, "We're not talking about you," I appreciate that, but at the same time, are you removing me from the male sex? If so, why does my disability mean I am not a human being born with a penis? Story 52. We only pass gas around people. Sometimes we cannot hold it in long enough to share, and that is upsetting. Story 53. All men are rapists. I realize where it comes from, of course, but Jesus Christ on so many levels. Story 54. Men making the first moves and being the ones who advance the stages of a relationship and levels of intimacy or sex. I am terrible at reading that and fear overstepping boundaries. So I have to basically ask, and some find it weird to be that direct. Story 55. According to most male influences during my childhood, you man like sports. You man cannot do art. You man fix cars. You man do not cry. You man do not dance. You man cover up friends' sexual harassment behaviors because it is the bro code and we have to look up female skirts and hyperfocus on their chests because you man. Herder. For your information. No, I'm not homosexual. Yes, I have had to answer this question many times, and once I even had to explain my sex life to a doubtful family member to make them stop harassing me about that subject. I have a girlfriend who I love and who loves me back, which is the best part. I know how to fix cars and enjoy sports. Yes, I have terrible emotional reactions because I hide my feelings, but I am working on it to start a very happy family. I am also against sexual assault and have reported former friends who committed wrong actions. If that is being a man, I am okay with being cast aside from my own gender. Story 56. I am supposed to work and do all the lawn work, and these tasks are considered free because they are not housework. Meanwhile, a stay-at-home mother throws a load of clothes in the washer and sits for an hour before putting the clothes in the dryer for another hour, counting that as 2 hours of household labor. No, that is unfair. If motherhood is the hardest job in the world, then how about those mothers' trade places with the men building high-rise scaffolding for a few days to give the mothers a break from all the work they are doing? Story 57. Sports. Sports are, quite frankly, an uninteresting thing to watch or follow. Playing sports is enjoyable, but watching them, especially with the intense devotion many people have, can be overwhelming. If you want to see what a major conflict might look like, watch events like the World Cup or cricket championships. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.